So I'm using my company channel, which I don't normally use, and hopefully some people will find me here as well. And I am also using my channel on YouTube. Watch live now, Big and Corn Fed. Do you feel safe? Hey, that's kind of cool. I just found out that I just got a notification that I'm live on YouTube, which I am under Big and Corn Fed. And so it's cool. It's very awesome that they're sending notifications out. They're there. That's perfect. Don't touch anything. I don't want to touch anything because I will totally screw it up. And that's not good. So, all right. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Tonight is a big night. Bank of America. Now, yesterday, for those of you who don't know this already, I'm sure a lot of you already do, though. Verizon, AT&T, all of the big cell phone companies were down all day. They had lots and lots of problems. It took them till the middle of the afternoon to finally get back up. That's my time, Mountain Time. So thank you, by the way, for the likes, because the more you like, the more people see the algorithm send it to more people. Thank you, YouTube, for sending me to me, at least. So you're sending it to somebody. That's awesome. By the way, my YouTube channel is Big and Corn Fed as well. I only have about 150 people on there because I just started. But the reason I just started is because yesterday, and this happens to me all the time, I was quoting something that I saw in the news, and I saw the video. I saw everything with my own eyes. It's not something I made up. And they kicked me off again for a week for disinformation. I mean, look, if you see it with your own eyes and you hear it with your own ears and you know that it's real, it's not AI, deep fake, and then the person in the video actually admits that, yes, that was me, what more can you do? Like, what else can you do to prove that it's real? So that's the problem, is that unfortunately, I just don't think that I don't think TikTok cares. I really don't. I think that their main concern now is just make sure that you don't say anything they don't like. And misinformation, I guess it boils down to what they consider misinformation, because what I talked about yesterday that got me kicked off was absolutely a fact. There's no question about it. The person involved admitted that it was them. I saw the videotape. It was actually taken on a cell phone by a family member of them, and man, I got kicked off again for a week. And that was after I served a week in TikTok prison for saying something else that was true and getting kicked off for disinformation for a week. So for 2 weeks now, it'll be 2 weeks that I've been on live on my Big and Corn Fed channel for 26 minutes. I'm trying to do a live stream every night. So what I've done is I have started a channel on YouTube where I do live streams every night. And that one is my Big and Corn Fed channel. And so if you want to go there and like and subscribe and all that, and if you want to like and subscribe here, this is my company channel. It's still Big and Corn Fed, but this is my Asset Security Group, my official channel, as it were. So what do you guys want to talk about? There's a lot to talk about. The fact that B of A went down today is a huge thing. Let me see. B of A from 10 a.m. Boom. Till 1 o'clock. Basically, it said that it showed everybody's account as zero. Now, the reason that I keep telling people to buy silver, the reason that I'm in the silver and gold business, is because what if, just a hypothetical here, what if their system didn't come back up? What if it was a hacker that gave them some kind of catastrophic bug and everything showed zero and there was nothing they could do about it? What if it wasn't somebody who was just in there, some kid in his basement drinking Code Red Mountain Dew and screwing around, who accidentally figured out how to do it? What if it was a professional group, somebody from, let's say, a nation state? Oh, I don't know, somebody who doesn't like us, like Iran, perhaps. What if the Russians are trying to show us that, look, we can play games with your economy too, just like you do with ours. T-Mobile went down at 1 o'clock until about 3:30 today. Let's see, Verizon's had problems all day long. Oh my God, they got issues all around the country. So they've been warning us over and over and over again that there's going to be a catastrophic cyber attack this year, and that's about 150 different cybersecurity experts have been saying that, including Bill Gates. Strangely enough, Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum. I'm not exactly sure what he knows about cybersecurity, but I think he knows quite a bit about what's going on behind the scenes in the world, if you know what I mean. Pulling some strings there. So let's see, Xbox went down today temporarily. AT&T's having some issues. I'm telling you, this is not good. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but in my opinion, somebody's having a little bit of fun at our expense. And when I say a little bit of fun, I mean they're costing us billions of dollars. Now imagine with a port strike. Let's say that the port strike, let's say that it ends a week and a half from now. So that's already crippled our economy. It's cost us $6 billion a day, according to the news, that it's going to take out of our pockets. Let's say at the end of that strike, they negotiate, or they try to negotiate a settlement, and then all of the infrastructure for the ports goes down at the end of that strike and complicates things for another week or two. That's catastrophic. That is really, really bad. And that, who knows what could happen at this point? That's the problem. Let's see. By the way, Israel has said that they are going to retaliate, which means that now we're in a situation where we're basically in an open state of war. And on top of that, and this is something that I think is really, really, really important, we're sending billions of dollars, billions and billions and billions of dollars to other countries in aid. There are people in North Carolina right now, as we speak, that are getting ready to take their last breath. And the reason for that is a completely, utterly ineffectual rescue effort by the state and federal government. Look, we all know that things like what happened in Texas, where everything froze, the power grid died, it was within minutes of dying permanently, and they managed to get it back online, but people died. We know that Katrina happened, and Katrina claimed something like 1,900 lives. If that had been a terrorist attack, we would have gone to war for 30 years over it with somebody. But that was a self-inflicted wound. And what's going on in North Carolina, if you want to see what the next 4 years will be like under the same administration we have now, look at what's going on in North Carolina. The federal response is completely absent. They're just now, all of these days later, starting to use helicopters to evacuate people. Now, there have been private citizens who have flown their own privately owned helicopters in there to rescue people. But as far as FEMA and all that, they're just now getting wound up. These people literally have been without food, water, cell phone service, electricity for days now, several days. Again, this is why when people make fun of me and they say, oh, you're crazy, you're one of these doom and gloom guys that says, you need to prepare food and have fuel and all this other stuff and have a solar generator and all this crap, you're just nuts. You're like Chicken Little and the sky's falling. Am I really? Is that really true? Because the reality is this: if you were in North Carolina now, the world did kind of come to an end for you, didn't it? Now, we're fine. I'm sitting in the same place I always make videos. Air conditioning's on, lights are on, fridges were running, got it stocked full of food. Everything's great. But how do I know that that's going to keep? I don't. I don't know, because the reality is with B of A, B of A is a perfect example. If you don't think that Bank of America, several trillion dollars worth of corporation, has cybersecurity experts that try to keep them safe, you're crazy. They spend millions of dollars, probably a month, on cybersecurity. And yet, when you checked your account earlier today, it said zero. Everything said zero except your rewards money. If you had built up a certain amount of rewards points and turned it into money, that actually showed up. So if you had a couple $100,000 rolling through that account, it said zero. But at the bottom, it said you have $325 in rewards money. I'm not sure that that would make me feel really good to know that everything in my account disappeared. Now, the question is, at what point do you say, okay, enough is enough, I'm taking my money out of the bank? Because the reality is, what are you going to do with it? You're going to put it in your pillow? You can't do that. You simply cannot do that. I was just looking through some of my old photos, and it was actually because I took a picture, and I was rummaging through, and I came across one that I took in March of 2022, and it showed 20-pound bags of rice were $8.99. Now, they're $14 now. That's not 2% inflation. That's not even close to 2%. It's $14 for that same bag now. I know, I just went and bought a couple bags. Now, why would I buy a couple 20-pound bags of rice? Just in case. A 20-pound bag of rice is enough calories to keep one person alive for an entire month. Now, I know you're thinking, well, what about 4 Patriots and all that good stuff? It's a waste of money. It literally is a waste of money. If you want to piss away your money, go ahead. Throw it away on, vacuum sealed, freeze dried food that's already made. You just have to add hot water. I really don't want to do that. I mean, I do have some backpacking meals that I bought for backpacking, and every once in a while I'll stumble across a deal where, Mountain House or one of these companies is doing a sale and they've got, beans and rice, and it's $1 for 2 servings, which is more than enough for an entire day. And it's, $1. It's trying to get rid of them because they're about to go bad, even though they last 25 years. So they sell them cheap, and I'll buy 200 or 300 of those. So I have enough food to last me for well over a year, including my son and both of my daughters and my ex-wife. Yes, I know. You're thinking, wait, you said ex-wife? Yes, she's my former wife, but she's also the mother of my son, and therefore I'm still responsible, and I always will be. That's what happens when you say I do. It means I do forever. Well, I mean, for some people, not for everybody. All right, let's see who's on my live stream. Holy moly, I got C Chevy. Sweet. Oh, I got 4 people on here. Only one of them commented, but I got 4 people on my live stream on YouTube. I'm feeling pretty froggy right about now. Hey, you guys, just jump at 5. Oh, I think actually that might be the most people I've ever had on my live stream on YouTube. That's outstanding. Let's do it. Okay, so Israel got attacked. It looks like their Mossad base got hit. Their Mossad building, whatever. It looks like the Iron Dome wasn't quite as effective as they wanted us to believe it was based on the footage of missiles actually hitting the ground. So now I don't know. I'm not there. I know that the Israelis have several layers of protection when it comes to missiles and whatnot. But I also know they've been firing them off nonstop for months and months and months now. And look, you can only make so many of these damn things. So good evening. So this is going to get rough. This is, I can tell you for a fact, this is going to get ugly fast. Now, we just sent 40,000 American boys and girls. And the reason I say boys and girls, I respect our service members. I don't mean to degrade you guys. However, as a former Marine, I can tell you, when I joined at 17, I didn't know my ass from a hot rock. But my point is that we just sent 40,000 of America's best and bravest kids over to the Middle East to stand around. Is that what they're going to do? They're just going to stand around and do nothing? I doubt that very, very seriously. What's going to happen next is inevitable. Inevitable. You can call it the Gulf of Tonkin. You can call it the next Pearl Harbor style event, next 9/11, whatever it is. But all of the countries in that area, well, with the exception of Jordan, who wants to stay completely neutral, but a lot of the other countries, including Turkey, most of you probably did not have the time and did not want to spend the effort to watch President of Turkey, Erdogan's entire speech to the UN yesterday, all 40 minutes of it. I did. And what I heard was very alarming, very alarming. They are extremely pissed off at Israel. If they get involved in this, it's going to get nuts. It's going to get really, really crazy. So, hopefully we can bring this to an end. Although, look, it seems as though basically whoever it is in Washington that's running the United States now, obviously it's not Biden. I mean, we all just know that. Intuitively, it's just a no shit statement. I can tell you guys that, oh, well, he's still as sharp as he ever was. As a matter of fact, he's more cogent than ever, like the MSNBC people. He's the sharpest son of a bitch in all of Washington. He'll talk you and tie your ass on a knot verbally. Whatever. The reality is the guy can barely figure out where he is. So if that's the case, we're on the verge. We are literally on the precipice of World War III. Who's running the country? Who makes the decisions? Because this is nuts. We are very, very close to the edge here. I mean, as close as we've ever been. This is probably closer than the Cuban Missile Crisis. We've got guys like Putin saying nuclear weapons. We've got, obviously, if you look, Israel's Samson option. Remember the story of Samson? After he was blinded, after Delilah cut off his hair, how did he end that? He brought the entire temple down on himself. That's literally their plan. If they are overwhelmed, they will go nuclear. That's the end. That's it. We have 72 minutes, just so you know. By the way, Callie Kills, your message was redacted because apparently you said something. Or retracted. Okay, maybe that's different. Is it retracted? Yes. If it's retracted, that means he decided not to say it. If it's redacted, that means they decided he shouldn't say it. Couldn't say it. Now, look, I am a big, big, big First Amendment guy. I am very big on the First Amendment because I believe that when you let lunatics speak their minds, everybody figures out real quick that they're lunatics. End of problem. When you start telling everyone to keep moving, nothing to see here, and there's clearly something to see, now there's going to be a problem because there are always people like me out there that go, wait a minute, if there's nothing to see, what's that? Now, you could throw guys like me in prison all day long, but eventually the common man and the common woman are going to get tired of it, and it's going to end just like the Soviet Union. And by the way, just for those of you who don't know, when the Soviet Union collapsed, the economy collapsed along with it so badly that in 1 year alone, I believe it was 1990, 2.2 million Russian men took their own lives out of desperation because they couldn't support their families. That's the kind of upheaval and shame that goes on when a government completely collapses. What's happening, Troy? Good evening. So we got a lot to talk about, though, because as much as I'd like to say that Israel is our biggest problem, Israel and Ukraine, they're not. The biggest problem that we have right now, man, this is nuts. He won't back strikes. Oh boy, Biden says he won't back strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Does anybody in Israel give a shit what he says at all? You tell me. Does anybody care what Biden says? Because I don't think so. I honestly don't think that they are listening at all. Basically, their attitude is shut up and turn over the 2,000-pound bombs. Give us the weapons and shut your mouth. Okay. Now, the governor finally spoke up today and said that it's a post-apocalyptic scene. North Carolina communities have been wiped off the map by Helen, the hurricane. Bank of America customers report widespread outages and zero balances. Think about that. Bank of America customers on Wednesday reported having problems accessing their bank accounts, or that their account balances currently show zero. Oh boy. Think about this for a second. The reality is that as big an issue as wars overseas are, if this went on for 4 or 5 days, let's say it took them 4 or 5 days to fix this hack at Bank of America, that means that every single person at Bank of America has access to zero money unless they put it on credit cards. Now, if you've got credit cards and they're not maxed out, because remember, credit card usage is at the highest it's ever been in history, and charge-offs are at the highest they've ever been in history and climbing faster than they've ever climbed in history, and foreclosures are skyrocketing. And by the way, bankruptcies are skyrocketing. Personal and corporate are up 500%. So what I'm saying to you is, if you still have all of this faith in the system, really, really think about why. Really check yourself and ask yourself, why do I believe that I'm safe with my money in the system when the system is clearly breaking down? Clearly. Now, if this had been B of A and Wells Fargo and Citibank and JP Morgan Chase, which it could have easily been all of those, you have to understand that nation states have the same exact software that we have. Now, I'm gonna just side note here. If you don't know, and by the way, share this with everybody that you can, please, because what I'm about to talk about is extremely important. Because as somebody who's studied this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about asymmetrical warfare. Yes, I think that the port strike will definitely go for at least a couple weeks, and that is going to be absolutely huge. That's going to factor into, and by the way, don't be surprised if this port strike isn't sort of a red herring, and the reason that the president didn't step in for some reason, like he did with the rails. Yes, absolutely, you should buy some food, no question about it. Yeah, I mean, the reason that they didn't step in like they did with the rail strike, which was critical infrastructure, just like the ports, is because I believe that they may want a scapegoat for what's about to happen to the economy. And they can say that the economy would have had a soft landing had it not been for these greedy union people. See that? Now, I know you're thinking, well, that would be super disingenuous. That would be unfair to blame the union for something that was already in the making. Yeah, we're already in a recession. That's a fact. There's no question about it. I've been studying econ now for 34, 35 years, okay? I understand all the metrics. And so when somebody lies to me, I know they're lying. I know. I see the numbers and I say, these numbers don't add up to what you just said. Well, that's why they don't have me on the mainstream media. That's why I'm here and not there, because I would have been calling BS about, well, look at just go back and look on Big and Corn-Fed and look when I switched from my own personal channel, having fun, talking about archaeology and archaeoastronomy and all kinds of stuff, anthropology. I mean, those are the things I made my channel for. And all of a sudden, in about 2022, I switched over and started talking about nothing but the economy and silver and gold and why you needed it. Why? Because I realized, okay, look, I got to put my own personal fun stuff aside for a couple of years here, and I got to get prepared, and I got to get everybody that I can talk to, everybody I can reach, I need to get them prepared as well. So the reason that I want everybody if possible to be on here for this is because we came up with something a long time ago. It was a long time ago. Yes, absolutely. I recommend that you at least look, go spend $30 and buy a couple bags, 20-pound bags of rice. Okay. Just in case. I mean, why not? Look, if you put it in the freezer and freeze it for 10 days and then take it out, it'll be good for about 4 or 5 years. If nothing happens in the next 4 or 5 years and you're still looking at it, you say, you know what? I'm going to donate that to a food bank. They give you a receipt. It's a tax write-off. And then you just go buy a couple more bags. It doesn't mean that you're insane. It doesn't mean that, oh my God, you're one of these idiot preppers. You dug a 10,000 square foot warehouse 300 feet underground. No, you're not doing anything like that. You're just making sure that if you're the next North Carolina and the federal government fails to act like they are now, that you don't get caught in the crossfire. Because the reality is nobody's doing anything. It's just so damn slow. So be prepared, you know? And if you have children, this is a no fucking brainer. Seriously. If you have children, trust me, the worst thing that you could possibly hope for in life is to hear them crying because they're hungry or they're cold or worse, they're freezing to death because you don't have heat and you didn't prepare. You know, I mean, how many people have sleeping bags, have things like that? Probably plenty, but how many don't? Way too many. So let's be prepared just in case. If you live in the middle of the country, who knows why you might need it? Obviously, you don't have to worry about a hurricane. If you don't live on the West Coast, you really don't have to worry too much about an earthquake, although they are kind of popping up in some weird places. Fracking, maybe. You know, the reality is that, yeah, the government will give you $750 and tell you good luck. That's about it. So let me get back to the asymmetric warfare, because this is what could happen in all reality. This isn't some, you know, I'm not putting on my tinfoil hat here by saying this. We came up with something called Stuxnet. Stuxnet was a very simple idea. We would come up with a virus that would infect computer systems and do something very specific. Now, what we wanted it to do specifically was we wanted it to lie to the Iranian government in their facility that was using centrifuges to enrich uranium. And we wanted it to tell the centrifuges to go nuts and spin much, much faster than they should, and lie to the computers and say that they're spinning at the correct rate, at which point the centrifuges will eventually come apart. Brilliant. The computers are saying everything's fine. The centrifuges are blowing up. What happened? Well, obviously the centrifuges are made wrong. Nope, not at all. So here's the point. We gave Stuxnet to the Israelis, and we said, don't use this yet because their facility is completely and utterly secure. No lines in, no lines out, nothing. It's completely self-contained. We have to wait for the right time to put this in. We have to find the right person who can plug in one of these little bad boys, boop, into the right place for just a few seconds, pull it out, put it in his pocket, and split. Well, unfortunately, Netanyahu was getting a lot of pressure to do something about Iran's nuclear facilities. So he caved to the pressure from the far right, and he went in too early. And within one day, Iran knew exactly who had fucked up all of their centrifuges. Thank you, Israel, for being our friend again. Now, here's the point. We needed something better, vastly superior to Stuxnet. So we had a little agency in the United States government, who shall remain nameless for now. Their job is basically cyber security / cyber attack. And they came up with something called Nitro Zeus. Now, if I had said that to you on here 7 years ago, by the time I ended this live stream, there would be federal agents knocking on my door saying, "Excuse me, those words you used, those are top secret. How did you know them? Come with us." And that would have been the least of my problems at that point, because they would have wanted to know how I found that out. Luckily now it's somewhat public knowledge, although most people have no idea what Zeus Nitro is. Zeus Nitro, on the other hand, is the ability to shut down an entire electrical grid and or back up and therefore explode any pipeline, break a dam, destroy all of the infrastructure in the generators inside of a dam, therefore making it completely worthless. And once you build a dam and you put those enormous generators down deep inside of it, they're almost impossible to replace. So there are many things you can do with Zeus Nitro. Unfortunately, we're not the only ones that have Zeus Nitro. The Russians have it, the Iranians have it, the Israelis have it, the French have it, the English have it, the Germans have it. Shit, the South Africans probably have it. Brazil probably has it. Argentina probably has it. Now, what this means is it means that our infrastructure is completely vulnerable to any of these attacks. Luckily, what would happen in that situation, if it were still Zeus Nitro, is we would be able to figure out within a matter of days where the attack came from originally. We would be able to bounce IPs and do all that shit and finally figure out, all right, who attacked us? At which point, whatever is left of the United States of America would fire back in a big way. However, there are much more sophisticated programs in operation today. Some that have 0 digital fingerprints, none whatsoever. People get a little upset when I don't turn my light on. All right, well, here you go. Let's do this. Perfect. All right, I'm lit up. So we see an attack. Just theory. This is not any inside knowledge that I admit to. But we see an attack in Russia. A theater is attacked. It turns out that the people were probably trained, according to sources, by MI6 and or the United States of America. Within 36 hours, a tanker in Baltimore loses power and steers directly into a bridge, taking out one of our most important ports, at least most of it. Was that tanker on autopilot? Did it have tugs involved? Because they're supposed to be pulled out of that narrow channel by tugs. The tugs couldn't control it. That seems odd. Seems like you'd have to try to hit that pylon in order to knock the bridge down. But who knows? The way that I see it is every time we go over there and we start screwing around with somebody that has the power to screw back, something odd happens in this country. I'll give you an example. We were messing around with Russia, and all of a sudden, a gas pipeline across all of the South just stopped working. The Colonial Pipeline just quit. That's weird. Solar flare? No. Power outage? No, not that. Oh, weird. So the reason I say this is because right now we have crossed every line that Putin has set, every red line that Joe Biden has set, every red line that Joe Biden has set and said, we will not allow the Ukraine to do this. Put something in there. Put whatever you want in there. Use long-range missiles deep inside of Russia. Check. Give them F-16s. Check. Send American troops into Ukraine. Check. We've done it all. We've done it all. So nobody in Ukraine's listening to Joe Biden. Nobody in Israel's listening to Joe Biden. At some point, the retaliation will not be direct, because these countries are not stupid. They understand that the United States has 10 times the military power of all of these other countries. Most of them combined still don't match us in terms of raw military power. That's the beautiful part about asymmetry. That's the beautiful part about asymmetrical warfare, is that you can have a much smaller force and still get the same results. You can't attack us from the outside. How do we stop Ukraine funding? It's a very good question. That is a very, very good question, because as far as I know, not a single American voted for that, except the people that we voted for. Nobody wants to send money to Ukraine, and nobody wants to send money to Israel. It's those conflicts are none of our fucking business. Stop paying taxes. You know, if enough of us did that, that would be fantastic. Unfortunately, it would take millions of us. Millions of tax protesters would do the trick, no question. However, the first person to stand up and say that will go into prison for the rest of his life if he lives, if they even survive. So the system is hard to beat. There's no question about that. It was designed that way. But my point is that if we keep pushing, Putin's not going to use a nuclear weapon first. There's no reason to. However, if you look at our air defenses, we have defenses at Point West, and we have defenses at Point North, and we have defenses at Point East. We don't have defensive radar over the horizon radar that points south. So from Brownsville all the way to Jacksonville, it's just not covered? Nope. Because we don't have any threats down there, theoretically, unless, of course, somebody came through the Panama Canal and opened up one of their, I got pulled last night for talking about something that actually happened. So, you've got a freighter, you have one of those Connex boxes, you put it up at a 90-degree angle and fire a missile 300 kilometers into the air with a low yield nuclear weapon on it, and it takes out the entire power grid for all of the United States of America. Now, I know you're thinking, well, our military will hit back. 90% of our military is powered by civilian infrastructure. 90%. You know where I found that out? I actually read the Senate subcommittee testimony. Yeah. 90% of the military is powered by civilian infrastructure. And it's not hardened. We need to stop giving all our military stuff away and money. Well, yeah, that would be great. If we kept our military stuff and our money, yeah, that'd be great. Unfortunately, the most powerful people in the world wouldn't be making billions of dollars a year, personally, and that would suck. Taxfreeforlife.org. Well, I've never been there, but maybe we might want to try that. Let's see. U.S. net international investment hits an all-time low. That's probably because we're running out of money. And by the way, the money that we do have, we're spending on wars that are unnecessary. Never heard of that. Served for 8 years. Yeah, we don't talk about it too much, do we? I didn't know when I was in the Marine Corps. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, like, basically the entire military and all of our stuff. I mean, obviously, if you're on a ship somewhere out at sea, if it's a big ship, it's a nuke. Actually, pretty much all of them are nukes now. So yeah, you'll have power, but all of our bases, no. Did you hear about all the kids they found in containers? Well, that would not surprise me, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Yeah, 280 million given to the Taliban. Well, that's nothing compared to what they give to Iran in the last 3 years. That's really amazing. We also did something that is probably one of the, these are the quiet things that I notice that you guys don't have time to, probably because you have jobs and you go do your job, and your job is, if you're good at your job, you get paid pretty well and you go on with your life. Well, my job is actually to do homework for you. We froze $300 billion in assets of Russia's when they went into Ukraine. They just announced, the federal government announced that according to the courts, we are now allowed to keep all of the profits. Now, we haven't seized the money, we simply froze it. But all of the money that's been made on that $300 billion over the last 2 years, the companies that are running the funds that control that money are allowed to keep that money, all of the profits. This is called the law of unintended consequences, because everyone in the world saw that decision and went, wait a minute, you could keep all of the profits on all the money that we have in the United States? Oh shit, this isn't safe anymore. This is a dictatorship. Like, if you don't do what the United States says, they'll freeze your assets and take all the profit that you've ever made on those assets. And some of those assets have made hundreds of billions of dollars over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And they just keep putting it back in. If they say, well, if we seized your initial assets, $200 billion 25 years ago, and actually you've made about 250 billion on that money over the last 25 years, and we're keeping all of that. We may keep the original investment too, but we may not. But we're keeping all of the money you've made in 25 years. What country is going to invest their money in the United States now? Nobody. So right now, they took BRICS from a kind of a crazy idea to it's BRICS plus now, because they have 9 more countries that have joined and several dozen countries that have asked to join. Basically, when you look at all of the countries that have requested membership or signed up already, it adds up to 80% of the world's population has requested BRICS. They want an alternative to doing business with the United States. A lot of that came after we said that we were going to keep Russia's money, because, we could. I'm telling you, underground utilities will still work after an EMP. The military is connected. Well, Adam, I'm glad you have so much faith, but guess what? Go and find the congressional testimony in the Senate subcommittee about EMPs, and you'll find out that that is total bullshit. 90% of the military's infrastructure runs on civilian infrastructure. 90%. This is only 1 year ago. If you're telling me that they've hardened everything in 1 year, no. I was in the military. It don't work that fast. That's not how it works. I'm sorry, I missed most of this. What do you think? So many countries already on board with BRICS. Yeah, we did that ourselves. We shot ourselves in the foot on that one, because, and could Trump use tariffs and threats and, deals and, backroom, horse trading to get people back? Probably some, yes. But we have to change the way that we do business completely and utterly. It would probably mean the dissolution of the CIA, because the CIA has created more bullshit and mayhem worldwide with their coups and their counteroffensives and all this bullshit that, I mean, look, it's just one of these things where we have turned into the bully on the schoolyard, and there are countries that are like, no, we're done. We don't need to do this anymore. So thanks. It's been fun, but it's just not working, and it's not us, it's you. And that's the absolute truth. There's no choice. I mean, going toward future. Yeah, 80% of the world's population. That's the newest statistic. 80%. So, it could be the best thing that ever happened to the United States, by the way. Just on a sort of a lunatic fringe rant. You go to a place like Austria, and you see the incredible buildings that they've got, the beautiful infrastructure and the opera houses and the museums and all of the art galleries. And it's just so beautiful there. And you think to yourself, how? Well, they built the infrastructure through empire, through the Habsburg Empire. They kept it by collapsing. Now, that sounds odd. Like, okay, well, wait, if the empire collapsed, how did they keep all the beautiful infrastructure? Well, they built it through war, and they kept it through not going to war anymore. And if the United States finally does get its ass handed to us, economically, obviously, what would come from that? Well, perhaps we could rearrange the way that we think about the world, where we could stop being the world's policeman just for the sake of money. And if that were the case, imagine if we spent the national defense budget on infrastructure, on roads, on high-speed rail, on you name it, on education, on public housing, on just, pick something. I mean, something as simple as what would happen if we spent an extra $20 billion? That's 10% of what we've sent to Ukraine. 10% of what we've sent to them to kill themselves. What if we spent that on the Veterans Administration? That would be something else. Wouldn't that be a hoot? Telling all of these guys who went to war for oil companies and for mineral companies, mining companies, Halliburton, Brown and Root, telling them, hey, look, we shafted you. We lied. We said it was about terrorism. It was about making money. But we're going to take care of you for the rest of your life. No, we're not going to make you rich. But, because you're disabled, we'll give you a few $1,000s a month and the best medical care in the world. Because clearly we want other Americans to see that when you make America first, America makes you first. I can't even tell you how much that would do for morale. Not for veterans, but for all those people who say to me on a daily basis, hey, thank you for your service. Okay. Go ahead. Thank me for my service. Thank all of us for our service. I'm not the only one that served, and I don't even need any fucking help. That's the best part. I came out of the Marine Corps with less PTSD than I went in with. So, let's see. What's your prediction on the election? I really think that unless they screw this up really badly, it's going to be Kamala Harris. She's got all of the publicity. She's got all of the mainstream media. She's not answering any questions. The three things that she said about the economy were absolutely ridiculous. Two of them were two of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard in my life. Fixing prices. My God, that's been tried by 41 nations in the last several hundred years, and it's never worked, ever once. It's created enormous deficits in the products that they price fixed, and it's created enormous black markets and enormous amounts of crime. So, okay, get rid of it. Just throw that was a throwaway. We just threw that out. All right, give me another one. Oh, let's tax people on profits that they haven't made yet. Wait, what? You're fucking kidding, right? Gavin Newsom threw that one out a year ago and almost got his head ripped off by the richest people in California because they were like, wait a minute, are you nuts? That's my house. Most people, the biggest investment they've ever made and the source of most of their wealth is their home. You're going to tax them on it? Well, what if they don't have enough cash to pay the taxes? Oh, that's okay. We'll just put a lien on it. But then I have to sell my house to pay off the lien. Yep. But then I what do? Do I just go buy another house? I guess so. It's not our problem. Pay your taxes on unrealized profits. Wow. Like you couldn't pick a dumber idea if you tried. And then the only one that she had that made sense was Trump's idea. When he said, I'm going to stop taxing tips. And everybody in the mainstream media said, my God, what a horrible idea. That's going to cost the taxpayers $200 million a year in tax revenue. You idiot. How could you do that? And then 3 weeks later, she said, by the way, I'm going to vote to get rid of taxes on tips. And everybody said, God, that is a great idea, even though she actually voted for the bill to tax tips. She voted for the bill. And now she's against it? Wow. Nuts. Over 100 million net worth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, you know what that means? Let's say that that's true. Let's say that it's for people with over $100 million. Do you have any idea what it looks like when all of the wealthy people in a country leave? Ask Mozambique. Mozambique decided that it was all of the wealthiest people in their country who were the worst people in their country because they were wealthy. So they took all of their money, seized all their assets, and kicked them out of the country permanently. And they went to England. And when they got to England, within 4 years, they had all of their money back. They had rebuilt businesses in England. And England prospered because those people came. And Mozambique ended up broke again within 4 years. You don't kick out the people who have the most hustle. And you don't burn them down by saying, well, you haven't made any money on this idea yet, but we're going to tax you anyway. It's just crazy. And it's easy. Believe me, there are some smart people on TikTok. Politicians often make promises during campaigns that may not be realistic or achievable. May not? Did you say often? I'd suggest that we change that sentence to politicians always make promises during campaigns that are never realistic or achievable. I mean, let's just look back. I remember when I voted for Obama. Hope and change. Hope and change. Finally, there's going to be peace. More drone strikes than any other president killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people with drone strikes. Oops. First president in the United States of American history to kill an American citizen in a drone strike without any indictment, without a grand jury, without being charged with a crime, without being convicted of a crime. Just killed him. Yeah, he was an American citizen. Oh, and his son, 16 years old. You know what the SecDef said when that happened? Kid was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Killed 2 American citizens his first month without due process. Hope and change. Well, that's a change, all right. I was shocked. Changed healthcare for the better. That's funny. We're the worst healthcare system in the modern world. Well, unless you've got great insurance. If you got great insurance, hey, this place is awesome. No wars under Trump. Well, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Huh. There was a drawdown in Iraq. Really, not much of anything went on in Afghanistan except a drawdown. Huh. Okay. So the guy who threatened to blow North Korea to kingdom come turns out to be the not war president. Weird. It's a weird world we're living in. He called him Little Rocket Man and said he'd rain fire down on North Korea. Then he went over, was first president to set foot in North Korea, shook his hand, talked to him for a little bit. We didn't hear a peep out of him after that. Nope, I'm ignoring you. Okay, no, I do not want to ignore you, Cindy. I don't see a comment from you, so it must have gotten past me. You know, the whole 40 days and 40 nights thing. I don't know. What is going on? Why is it going dark? Okay, hold on. I got to verify that I'm a live human, which is cool. God, for a second, I thought I got kicked off of this channel too. My Big and Corn-Fed channel, I normally have several hundred people on there, and everything's great, except they are just getting to the point now where they are so over censoring everything. And North Korea has harassed Japan and South Korea relentlessly. Really. Except for that part where South Korea went and met with them. The governments met for the first time since, 1956? Yeah, there's only, this is because this is my backup channel. That's the thing. This is not my normal channel. My normal channel, Big and Corn-Fed, I said something that I saw in the news. I saw it with my own eyes, saw the video, heard the person that was in it, that was recorded, saying that it was true, and I repeated it on TikTok and got kicked off for misinformation. Now, if that's misinformation, I have no idea what information is anymore. And I really, I can't say what it was, Cardo, because if I do, I'll get kicked off this channel too. But it had to do with something that a politician said. I watched it, and no, there was no cussing. There was no profanity. It was just, hey, I saw this video and I was really shocked because this politician admitted this. And boom, another week. So I had a week in the box for misinformation. I go back on for 26 minutes, and I was kicked off again for another week. So the bottom line is, it's not about misinformation. It's about, do not talk about things that you're not supposed to talk about. It's literally censorship. And it's not censorship for the good of humanity. It's literally just, we don't want you to talk about these things. And if you do, we will just shut you down over and over and over. Now, did they kick me off the platform? No, they're not. They don't want to kick me off the platform because they know I'm not doing anything wrong. But they also want to make sure that I'm intimidated because I use TikTok to sell silver. That's what I do for a living. So let's see. So we don't really have a First Amendment. Not on social media, no. Because in real life, if you're arrested for using your right to free speech in public, everybody sees that. And you go to court, and there's a court process, and theoretically there are enough judges that actually believe in the law that you would be found not guilty. The problem is, on social media, they can do whatever they want because they have these nebulous terms of service which say things like, for the good of the general community, we don't allow things that could harm someone or lead them to, feel a certain way. And it's like, okay, so yeah, hate speech. Well, not just hate speech. Okay. Things that are dangerous information, things that are not common knowledge, how to build a nuclear weapon. Yeah, that, but no, there's more. Things that you don't like. Mm, something like that. Okay, there you go. Um, yeah, I mean that's the thing. The apps can do whatever they want, and unfortunately, well, I don't understand how the First Amendment works. Well, that's probably the oddest thing anybody's ever said to me. That's really strange. It's funny that you say that because I was just sitting here the other day and I was thinking to myself, um, where's my Constitution that I read all the time? Because it's sitting right here somewhere. It's usually right here. Oops, where'd I put it? Uh, it was on my desk. I must have decided to clean up. I should never do that. Um, the First Amendment, I believe, gives us the right to free speech. Something like that, right? Is it free speech, or is it? Oh, wait a minute. Is it free? Is it free donuts on Thursday with a extra large coffee? What does the First Amendment give us again? It doesn't apply to TikTok. Well, that's the thing is apparently it doesn't apply to any social media because if you say something that YouTube doesn't like, they'll demonetize you. I don't necessarily care about getting demonetized. Are your settings to private or are all other comments set to private by users and the live? I only see my comments. Huh. Well, that's interesting. No, I don't have it set that way. I want everybody to see everything that everybody's saying. Maybe let's see, community. Reactions, timestamps, moderation activity. Okay, let's turn that on. Will be shown. Moderation activity. There you go. That's what we're talking about right now. Timestamps. Okay, let's turn that on. Let's turn on participants. Okay, that's not what I wanted. This is really getting to the point where it's like live chat. All messages are visible. There we go. Boom. All messages are visible. Okay, perfect. Please explain to me why, as a female, I would vote for Trump. Because if you're a female and you live in this country and you want to be able to buy food and fuel and pay your rent, then that's it. Look, you don't have to like the guy. I don't like him. Why would I like him? I've got 4 daughters. I'm a father, so I don't like Donald Trump. However, I'm also an economist who studies the economy all day, every day, and I see what they're lying to me about right now, and they are clearly lying right now. Like Janet Yellen just came out. I couldn't fucking believe this. Janet Yellen just came out and said that the labor market is strong. Look, out of the last 19 jobs reports, 16 of them have been revised down after the fact. Oh, look, the jobs are okay. They're not what we expected, but they're okay. And then within a few weeks, they go, okay, actually, it's a lot lower than what we said. And nobody sees that part. Nobody sees anything but the headline number. Well, okay, here's the thing. Let's just say you made a mistake. All right, Cindy? Let's say that you made a mistake. Let's say you make a lot of mistakes, okay? Now, you probably don't, but let's just say you do. Let's say you don't count very well, okay? And the number's way past fingers and toes action, so you just kind of wing it and you come up with kind of a guesstimate of what you think it is. Now, if that's the case, theoretically, about 50% of the time you'd be wrong to the upside, about 50% you'd be wrong to the downside. Maybe every once in a while you just nail that number. Although when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands, it's pretty hard. So why is it that 16 of the last 19 had to be revised down? None had to be revised up. Not one of them was revised up. So 3 of them were actually correct. And then the last 16 in a row have been wrong and all pushed down afterwards. That's called misinformation. That's lying. So there you go. No, I have been abused. No way in hell. Well, I mean, you know what? Bottom line is this: if you, there's physical abuse, which is horrible, especially if you're a kid. I know. Believe me, the first 4 broken noses I had were before I was 8 years old, and they were all my dad. Boy, was I a clumsy kid, according to my teachers. And this was back in the day when beating was called discipline. So I understand. However, you have to separate what you think somebody might be like in their personal life and what they are as a businessman or politician. What will they do in their personal life? Really don't care that much. What will they do as the office holder? And he's already proven that as the office holder, he was competent. That's it. That's what it boils down to. Cindy, he was competent. Now, he did have everybody in the entire administration working against him. Literally, like the Democrats fucking hated him. And they did everything they could to slow him down. But he still did tariffs correctly. He still actually got North Korea to shut up because they were threatening. Remember how they were threatening to, hey, we've got missiles that'll reach the United States now. I'll give you another example. A buddy of mine's a nurse. When Trump took over, his pay went up by $400 a week. Now, he's not a rich guy. He's not a millionaire. But his pay, he said, when Donald Trump took over, he pushed through tax cuts, and my paycheck personally went up by $400 a week. And I thought, wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. So you can vote for Kamala Harris, but I can tell you this, based on what she said so far, based on her economic policies so far, and based on what Biden has done so far, they will destroy the United States. There's no question in my mind. Look, there's a reason that they're letting these people into the country. There's a reason that they're letting in, as according to the Department of Justice, the DOJ just released this. 16,000 murderers, we don't know where they are. 13,000 murderers, 16,000 people that were convicted of rape or sexual assault. Now, as somebody who's been abused, have them explain that to you, that they're letting those people that are convicted felons into the country and they're not keeping track of where they go. You are not as safe as you were 4 years ago, period. You're not as safe as you were 8 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago. You are literally less safe now than you ever have been. And what do we hear? Well, you were proud to be an American. That's great. And the shit hit the fan in 2020 and it was ugly. And you know what? I really wish if we could go back and we could get the real information, like what we see in hindsight now, what we see about how many people died, who died, what they died from, what the comorbidities were. We could have handled this completely differently. We wouldn't have locked down the country. We wouldn't have needed to do stimulus to keep everybody with food on the table. We wouldn't have had to do any of that stuff. And the inflation that we're facing now wouldn't be so bad. But the question is Trump a virologist? No. He took the word of Tony Fauci. Tony Fauci's the expert. Okay? Dr. Redfield was in charge of the CDC, and they made sure that even though he is a virologist, he kept his mouth shut. Now, what happened with 6 foot distancing? Well, they just made it up. They just figured 6 feet's probably enough. Well, what's the science behind it? There's no science behind it. Now, I know that that's true because I saw the congressional testimony. I've been watching all of the Senate subcommittee hearings that are with Tony Fauci where they're just going after him for the emails that show that He knew what was going on. So, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. The medications that they said were horse paste. They're now approved for use on COVID-19. I saw it on the CDC website. I didn't make that up. I saw it. You can go see it. What is this? Like, this is crazy that these people lied to us, but they also lied to the president of the United States. Do you think that when he said, this hydroxychloroquine seems to be working, and they were like, oh God, you could just look, oh my God. And this is actually, I was watching MSNBC at the time and going, oh my God, is Trump retarded? Is he an idiot? Like, that's the stuff you clean aquariums with that. That's what they said on the news. All of a sudden, I started getting more and more information. Ivermectin won a Nobel Prize. I thought it was horse paste. No, it's something that's used as a treatment for several things. Oh, and it won a Nobel Prize. Yeah. But they also use it in horse paste. Well, yeah, they use it in horse paste because it's effective. It works in humans and horses. Oh, how come nobody said that? I don't know. Because I was watching MSNBC. There, it's the news, right? Then I found out, because when I was in the Marine Corps, one of the things that I got to do was they asked me one day, just out of the blue, you want to be an NBC officer? You want to train in NBC? And I was like, well, yeah, what is that? I'll volunteer for that. And they said nuclear, biological, and chemical. I was bored out of my mind, sitting in the squad bay doing nothing. And I said, sure. So I got to go to classes. Next thing I know, they're teaching me about, nuclear fallout, EMPs. They're teaching us about chemical weapons. They're talking to us about biological weapons. And so when this happened, and I saw that it was Wuhan, and I just Googled it and saw that there was a Wuhan Institute of Virology right down the street. I just got flagged for hate speech, by the way. For those of you who are wondering, think about it. For those of you who are wondering, do they censor? Well, I just got flagged for hate speech. Now, I'm going to let you guys decide what that meant. Please comment and tell me what you think I said that is hate speech. I don't know. Well, I hope Cindy didn't leave. I love the fact that she's curious. Most people have already dug in. They've already made their mind up. And they don't give a damn about facts. They could care less. And that's the thing, is that some people actually are trying to make a decision and figure out why one way or why the other. Well, that's the thing. I mean, clearly TikTok said it's hate speech. I just got a warning that I'm about to get kicked off of here for a week again on this channel too. I'm going to need like 7 channels. Just rotate them. You don't find me on one, by God, I'll be on the next one. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You're not seeing any others. That's weird. I put it so that everybody could see everything. Let's see. If I click this, what does this say? Remove, use, to put user in timeout. Oh my God, that's funny. Hide user on this channel. No, I don't want to do any of that. Add as moderator? What? No. Herd military told to stand down for helicopter assistance. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me. The left uses false accusations to silence dissenting opinions. Well, there are a few things that you can say. I really am just asking questions. See, she didn't leave. She's here. Yeah, and that's great. That's how you learn. Yeah, free speech. That's how you learn, and the reality is I study this stuff, and I was a Democrat for a long time. And, I had a radio show. On a progressive radio station, and I kicked the crap out of Republicans. That was at the beginning of the Iraq War, of course, and I had a good reason to, because I was not down with invading a country who didn't do anything to us. But I woke up one day and I looked around and I said, wait a minute, I haven't changed, but I'm not in the Democratic Party anymore. Like they're way, way over there to the left of me. What happened? What where are all these crazy ideas coming from? And why is this? Why are we talking about this? And that's when I realized, you know what? One of the things that really did it was I just absolutely hated Donald Trump. Oh my God! I just thought it was like he's going to be the worst president in the history of the United States. He got into office, and again, I'm in econ. I do econ, so I'm studying and I'm watching what he's doing, and I'm seeing that all the headwind he's catching from all of the people that are supposed to be his supporters, like I don't know, Jamie Dimon, Larry Fink of BlackRock, all of these guys who are Republicans who are secretly, well, not really secretly, they're going out in and making public deals with China to get around tariffs and things like that. And I was like, wait a minute, they're Republicans. Why are they backstabbing their own president? And then I realized, okay, something's up here. Like there's something that's not making sense. Okay, I get it. It's the largest, most toxic companies in the country that seem to hate this guy. And then I saw something really interesting. I saw an interview with Chuck Schumer. And we all know who Chuck Schumer is, Democrat, very powerful Democrat. And he said something that I will never forget. You can look it up on YouTube. It's very, very prevalent. He was being interviewed and he said, I think that Trump's made a big mistake. He's alienated the intelligence community. And I just think that's a huge mistake for him because these are people who don't forgive and they don't forget. And I thought to myself, the intelligence community, these are the people who are responsible for more pain and suffering around the world than any other group of people on earth. They're supposed to be spies who keep us safe, professional liars who keep us safe. Is that what they do, though? Because I've studied the history of the CIA. My father worked in the CIA. No, that is the corporate intelligence agency. That's what they are. They have done more harm in more third world countries for the benefit of big corporations than anyone else I can think of in history. Like they literally have had coups just for copper, just for oil, just for lithium, just you name something. Name something, and by God, they've started a war over it. Didn't care what religion or race or party. Yeah, I mean, reality is that almost all religions can run the United States. There's one that I think is absolutely ill-equipped to run anything based on their track record of hatred, but you can't talk about that on social media, although I don't have to, because if you don't know who I'm talking about, you haven't been around for the last, 50 years. Money is not the root of all evil. The love of money, that's what the Bible says. The love of money is the root of all evil. Money is a tool. That's like saying that hammers and chisels are the reason that the world is screwed up. They're just tools. Money's just a tool. If you have more money than you need to survive, to get by comfortably, then, you're just hoarding it. And that's stupid. I know. Albie's been on my other channel quite a bit. And so he knows why I get kicked off. I can't talk about religion. I mean, I can make fun of Christians all day long. Nobody cares. Christians are pretty tolerant about that. I've never made fun of a Hindu just because I don't really know much about the Hindu religion. I've studied it a little bit, but boy, is that complicated. Like, damn, you better have, I just followed. Thank you. Yeah, you better have a few years to study because that's complicated. Buddhism's not a religion. It's a way of life. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of being. So can't really call that a religion. I appreciate the follows, by the way, and I appreciate the likes. They help a lot. And I like the fact that I actually have 5 people on my live stream on YouTube. That is huge. And I know that sounds silly for a guy who's normally got 600, 500 people, whatever, but 5 people is a good start. One of these days I'll look over there and I'll see, 5,000. But in the meantime, you got to hustle. That's literally, I'm doing the same thing that I tell you guys to do all the time. Well, that's the thing, Johnny. You can't stop. Because here's the question. Let's say that you're tired of trying to wake people up and explain to them what's really going on. So you quit. Then what? Sit on your ass all day and do nothing? Bitch at your dog? No. You don't have any choice, man. Look, people think about fighting as a bad thing. But that's what we do. Well, hi, Mary. Thank you for coming over. Appreciate that. Mary's awesome. She just jumped over from TikTok. Yeah, but look, if you don't have a couple of good, solid fights going on in your life, I don't mean fighting with your wife or fighting with your kids. I mean, that's something that sometimes you have to do, if you're not good at sales. But the reality is this: having a mission in life gives your life purpose. There's so many people out there, they're like, I just don't feel like I matter. Well, they probably don't matter, to be quite frank. They don't matter. I had an epiphany one night after drinking 18 beers and considering that since I felt so bad after drinking all those beers, perhaps I should try something harder. And alcohol didn't seem like the answer. And I don't like smoking, that other stuff, sassy grass. So I thought, well, maybe I should try that stuff that you put in a syringe. And then the first thing that popped into my head was just, the way I overdo things, there's no way. I'd be dead in 3 months. And the next thought that popped into my head was, and who would even give a shit? Who would even notice? Yeah, I guess my daughter would be sad. But, our mom would get remarried and she'd probably end up with a better husband, better dad than me. And then I thought, how would I know that if I haven't tried and given it 100% effort? How would I even know that that's true? How do I know she's not going to end up with somebody much, much worse than me? So the next day I decided, all right, you know what? I think I need to quit drinking for a little while. So I quit drinking for 20 years. Well, that's the thing, Cindy. I get that. People used to tell me all the time, the worst thing in the world is to not believe in God. Nah, that's not the worst thing in the world. The worst thing in the world is to believe that God doesn't believe in you. That's much worse. Because there's a God. He's turned his back on you because of the things that you've done. And believe me, there are a lot of former Marines that feel that way. A lot of them. So all you can do is, say to yourself, okay, what can I do that would make me feel better about myself as a human? And that's easy. That's easy. I mean, look, if you're rich, throw money at it, but that's not going to make you feel better. There's an old saying in Buddhism, which I studied for many years. If you want to find Zen, carry water. It's a good one, right? It's great. If you want to find Zen, carry water. Hard work. So if you're working for yourself and you're working for your own ends, that's good. If you're doing this work for somebody else, for no other reason than it's just what you do, trust me. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people who want to be martyrs. They've They're like, well, it doesn't count. If it makes you feel better about yourself, then you're doing it because it makes you feel better. You're not doing it just for other people. Look, if you're doing something for free and you're doing it for someone else, and it happens to make you feel good about yourself, great. Just take it. It's a bonus. Just it's a freebie. Take the win, take the W, put it in the W column, and that's it. No, that's true. Where's the new hurricane going? Hell, I don't know, but I know there's another one. I know there's another one coming. Do I believe there is a higher power? The only reason that I believe there's a higher power, and I do, and it's because I study science. Because science is truth, period. Anything that's not true, the science falls apart. Now, you can bullshit people. Like, I'll give you an example. Tony Fauci. You can lie to people, but eventually the truth comes out. So the scientific method is you got to repeat it over and over again. And once you've repeated it and then get the same result from the same exact data, okay, then that's truth. I like that. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy in my jellies. Okay, so what do we know about biology? Because we see this. We see this in every animal on the planet, including ourselves. What is the meaning of life? Well, according to science, it's to breed, to pass on your genes to another viable mate, and then to have offspring and to continue your genetics on down the line. That is the reason. So, I believe that. So explain this. If every animal is pre-programmed to only act in its own self-defense, in its own ability to pass on its genetic codes, then why is it that you see people of all walks of life, in every religion, in every part of the world, in every time in history, who have done something for absolutely zero reason that could and should have gotten them killed in order to help someone who could in no way ever help them pass on their genetics in any way? Give you an example. Guy runs over to a burning car. He pulls out a woman who's 85 years old. He's not making babies with her under any circumstance. I don't give a damn how good a shape she's in. Her baby having days are over. So what's he doing? He's risking his life. He's risking his ability to pass on his genes to another mate for no reason whatsoever. But men and a lot of women, and believe me, it's amazing, especially when you see it in women, because you don't expect it as much. It's just kind of the old school teaching of, men are heroes. But when you see women do it, it's actually just amazing. Will literally put themselves, even if they're parents, and they know that they have children to take care of. And I'm not talking about firemen. I think firemen are great. But guess what? Firemen get paid to do that. Okay, they don't count now. They actually get remuneration for taking these risks, and they're calculated risks. They don't run into buildings that are about to collapse, but for some reason, a perfect stranger will. That's got to be, in my opinion, evidence of God. Why else would you do it? There's no scientific explanation. The only explanation is because there's that voice inside of you that says, this is the right thing to do. What's that voice? What's that voice that tells you that it's the right thing to do? Even though you logically can, and let's face it, some of these people are not stupid. They see the risk. They see the car's on fire and can blow up at any moment. They run to it anyway. They see that the roof looks like it's about to collapse and they run into the house anyway. The pizza delivery guy who ran into a house, he dropped a pizza off a couple doors down, and as he was leaving, he realized the house down the street was on fire. He runs in. He rescues a couple of people. The house is now totally engulfed, and they scream that there's somebody else in there. He runs back in and damn near dies rescuing a couple more people. And when the fire department got there, they were like, wait a minute, you got all of these people out of that building as he was sucking on oxygen. Why? Was he doing it for a bigger tip? He didn't even deliver the pizza to that house. He ain't getting the tip. You do it for thank you? He did it because it felt right. To me, that's the only proof there is. But it's pretty damn solid proof. Compassion. Where's that come from? That's got to be a sign that there's a higher power out there. And that might be it. There you go. See? When Katrina happened, I went there. I just figured, hey, if anybody's waterproof, it's a guy who was a swimmer in the Marine Corps. So I'm going. And I did. And you know what? When I got back, I felt great. I really felt like, you know what? Yeah, I matter now. After 20 years of not drinking and getting my shit together and helping the homeless and going and cleaning up hoarders' yards and doing public service stuff, just little stuff. It doesn't have to be big. But you know what? Just the little stuff, it adds up, man. The next thing you know, you feel really damn good about yourself. Yeah, well, that's the thing. When it's your time, it's your time. And that's that's why somebody asked me how long do you want to live? And I didn't even think about it. I just said 130. She said 130. Why 130? I said, I don't know. The first number that popped into my head, and it sounds like a pretty good number. And he was like, damn, 130. I said, yeah, how long do you want to live? And he goes, till the day before my daughter goes on her first date. And I said, okay, well, that makes sense to a guy with 4 daughters. All right, Chevy, have a good one. Got a guy signing off on my YouTube. I have got people on YouTube. That makes me excited. All right, well, listen, it's been an hour and 40 minutes. I'm going to sign off. I will not be back on Big and Corn Fed for the next week. So I'll be here and on YouTube. And I'm going to keep building up both accounts. And, also I'm going to be building up especially the YouTube account. So you guys, if you don't have me on YouTube, please go sign up there. And also join this channel, ASG, I think this one is. So you guys have a great night. Sorry, Uncle Dave. It's time, man. I got my son tonight, so got to get to bed early. I will talk to you guys soon, though. Where do I sign off on this? Holy smoke. Oh, it's way up here in the corner. I'm using my iPad, so it's a little different. All right, guys. That was really cool. I had a bunch of people on there. Well, a bunch of people, 2,000 views is a quarter of what I normally get, a tenth of what I normally get, but that's okay because I'm making some progress. And you guys on YouTube, you guys are awesome. You guys are saving my bacon here because I need to get as many people on here as possible. So if you can like and subscribe and all that crap, that'd be awesome. And I will see you guys. I won't be on YouTube tomorrow because I don't think I can get on YouTube on my portable computer. Well, I guess we're going to find out, aren't we? Because I'm going to the beach. I'm going to take my boy to the beach, and we're going to go play at the beach for a few days. So, but I will definitely be on my iPad, on my TikTok channel, ASG. So I'll see you guys soon.